In this video, I'm going to be using the 5-room dungeon technique to prep for my session tonight. I'm going to break down how each part of the structure works and why many consider it one of the fastest, most reliable ways to prep your D&D sessions. Or is it? It was created by this dude, or popularized by him, I should say, John 4. And this is his website where he talks about it. So I'm kind of going to learn about it as we go. I've been interested in the 5-room dungeon for a while, but its very name made me think that like it's potentially kind of constraining and railroady. But I figured it was time to try prepping with it. Would have been cooler if his name was John 5. Leave the guy alone, okay? Leave the guy alone. So before we get into this, I had a rough idea of what I would want my dungeon rooms to look like. Without getting too bogged down into my D&D campaign, my players just got off a magical submarine in an underwater base, and they need to head through the base to either find a power source to take the same sub back out, or find another way to escape. Oh, and they're being hunted by a slard, which I am reskinning to be more like the alien from the movie Alien. Room 1 is entrance and a guardian. How does that work? There needs to be a reason why your dungeon hasn't been plundered before or why the PCs are the heroes for the job. A guardian or challenge at the entrance is a good justification why the location remains intact. Also, a guardian sets up early action to capture players' interest and energize the session. So in room 1, there needs to be a guardian. A reason why this dungeon is not entered often. Now I've kind of set that up to a degree with the fact that a submarine is needed to enter here, but I'm also going to have the monster attack them here. After the monster loses a quarter of his health, it will try to retreat into a vent and continue to stalk the players from there throughout the other 4 rooms. And if the players manage to trap it or even kill it there somehow, I'll improvise. Maybe there's another monster in a facility. It's also important to note that this is where you're going to set up the vibe for the whole dungeon. And a dungeon can be anything, by the way, any area where your players need to traverse from point A to point B. You could even talk about this as a 5-act structure that could be utilized for puzzles and even social interactions, but for now, I'm just prepping the game with it. So in this first room, I'm going to describe the facility in greater detail almost than anywhere else, because the look of it's going to be quite uniform throughout, and I want the players to know exactly where they are from the get-go. So room 2, the PCs are victorious over the challenge of the first room and are now presented with a trial that cannot be solved with steel. That's right, it's a puzzle room, and some of these rooms can be switched round, but I think this works wonderfully. The first room was combat for my Call of Duty players, and the second room is a puzzle for my Portal 2 players. I came up with a puzzle where if the players approach the door in room 2, then a statue would shoot them with laser eyes. Don't think about it too hard. They had to figure out a way around the statue, all while they could hear something moving around in the vents. If you like making puzzles for your players, then this is the room for you. But if you don't, there's plenty of resources full of good puzzles online, or you can just live stream and ask chat to make one for you. No, I don't think it's cheating. And how would the puzzle fit in the barracks? I like the idea that they have to like root through everything and find information. Maybe it's a code on a door? The door needs a code to get through. We'll think about what we can do with that in a second, but also, I also put a map on the wall here pointing to the fact that the power source they would need to power up the submarine and get out of this underwater dungeon was in the 5th room of this dungeon. I think it's always worthwhile just gently reminding your players what they came into the dungeon for in the first place, and keeping them on track. Room 3, trick or setback. Alright, so room 3 is the lab, so it's kind of a big one. Now, like any similar base or structure for building something out, the 5-room dungeon is just a template. It's a starting point that you can shift and change to suit your needs. It can also be interpreted in different ways. Room 3 is there to turn your players' expectations upside down. The players have seen 2 rooms at this point. They probably think they know what to expect in the next couple. But room 3 changes the game. From a purely storytelling standpoint, this room is there to change the status quo and stop your players getting bored with the same old. Remember, at this point you will have been playing D&D for most likely over an hour, if not 2. The way I wanted to do this room 3 twist was to change the character's goal. Originally, it was to get to room 5, grab a power source and get out. But in room 3, the players found information about the creature hunting them. This room was where the creature was being experimented on, and inside the creature is an item I use in my campaign called a World Heart. All you really need to know about World Hearts is that they're MacGuffins, they are rare, they're scattered across the land, they're extremely powerful, and when the players find one, it levels them up. There is no greater motivator for your players than a legitimate object in-game that they know will level them up. So with this information, that a level up was inside this creature hunting them, my players of course decided to become the hunters. The goal became less about getting the power source in room 5, and more about setting up a trap to catch the monster and kill it. Which brings us to room 4. Okay, so what's next up? Room 4, climax, big battle, or conflict. Okay, I think to understand what happens in this, we need to look at what room 5 is. Room 5, reward, revelation, plot twist. Alright, so room 4 is offices. So this is where things start to get a little vague with the 5-room dungeon. Since there is such a variety of gameplay in D&D, room 5 might not be a room at all, but it is the reward, and maybe a revelation, or even a plot twist for your players that will carry them not just out of this session, but into the next. My room 5 was just a storage room that held a submarine power source, but as the 5-room dungeon story structure goes, my 5th room was my players getting the power source, getting the world heart, and leveling up, then taking the submarine out and heading to the next destination, if they chose to do so. This meant that room 4 was a big one. They needed to unlock the mysteries of this underwater base, find more info on the monster, set a trap, then defeat it. Room 4 of this dungeon was what I called the offices. It had a self-destruct button for the base, another laser eye statue that would shoot people who approached the door, and the info that the creature loved submarine power sources. Yes, like the one they are going to get in room 5. And the creature would do whatever it could if it saw one of these power sources to grab it and eat it. Oh, and look at that, there's 2 submarine power sources in room 5. What are the chances? One to get the players off the base, and another to bait the monster if the players wished. Room 4 of my story structure was not just the 4th room of this dungeon, it was also every other room in this dungeon put together, Metroidvania style, because they could go back and forth as they wished. You see, in room 3, I described an area for destroying living organisms, which is pretty much a place where the players could turn on an acid shower that would damage anything underneath it. Now I figured they would probably put a submarine power source under the acid shower as bait for the monster, wait until the monster was in position, then make it rain, all while laying into it with ranged attacks. I thought I knew my players so well. What I did not predict was that my players would take the door laser eye statues lay around the facility, one in room 2 and one in room 4, then MacGyver them up and move both into room 3 with the acid shower. What then unfolded was beautiful. A creature they were scared of at the start of the session was now restrained in a room, having acid poured onto it, laser statues shooting it, and the players laying into it. By the time the creature got out of harm's way and got properly into the combat, it had already lost 3/4 of its health. I gotta say, using the 5-room structure was a blast. It made sense to me. It allowed me to give a variety of encounters that my players liked, and it really is something that can be thrown together in like 20 minutes. But it's not going to be a prepping method I'm gonna use often. I think it does have some issues when taken at face value. I just don't like it. I don't like DMing a game where I'm just like, okay, and now you go into the next room. This is it. What do you do? Okay, now you go into the next room. This is it. What do you do? For example, like any structure or template, using it over and over again makes it predictable and boring for players to play and for DMs to prep. And my initial worry that this was going to be railroady, well, as a structure, it's not. Saying you're going to have a combat encounter, then a puzzle encounter, then a twist, then a battle, unless your players decide to take a different path, is not railroading because you can still allow for the players to take that different path. And an experienced DM will be able to change up what the combat is, what the puzzle is, what the twist is, on the fly. And this is where I was really surprised. You see, I don't think the 5-room dungeon is a way to prep your games. I think it's a way to run your games. It's actually a way to help you improvise in the game. If you start with a combat or a puzzle, you roughly know that next you should give your players the opposite. Then after that, you roughly know you should set the players back in some way. Then after that, a big battle. And then the big battle always leads to a reward, revelation, or plot twist. If you memorize these 5 steps, the 5 rooms, you can kind of improvise your way through any session, at least as far as hitting good, solid beats go. I also am going to put in some vents that lead from like room 1 to room 4 or something that they can take. So it moves it around slightly. You can show a pod where the slad escapes, broken glass, dried blood, and things like that. Yes, that's very good actually. How's prepping gone? Had to leave for a little while. It's gone well. Like the 5-room dungeon situation is genuinely pretty good for just being like, hey, Here's an opening room. Here is a room with a puzzle. Here is a room with combat. Here is the final room. Very basic, very easy to get your head around, and I don't hate it as like a prepping thing, for sure. Really, the issue really is just the railroading nature. Like, if you were someone who only prepped using 5-room dungeons, I would hope that you were a DM who was like very open to your players messing around in those dungeons and improvising into different directions. How's the alien going to hunt the players? The alien is mostly going to be in the vents the whole time, just making loud footsteps and hearing breathing around the place until room 4 or room 5. I want my players to want to try and coax it out. I almost want my players to turn around and be the hunters. You know, I want them to be like, okay, we hunt it now, which I really like. Now, the other week, I did a similar video to this where I prepped my session using the Dungeon Master's Guide prepping guidelines, and every DM is different. But for me, I preferred the DMG prep over the 5-room dungeon. The session just felt more fluid and my players actually got a lot more done. That being said, the 5-room dungeon prep took me like a third of the time to finish compared to the DMG prep. So, tomatoes, tomatoes. I just read that off the script. I was supposed to say the second tomato differently from the first, sorry. All right, real quick, just as a break from prepping, we got a dundle, okay? Can someone give me a 5-letter word that is based on D&D? Either a spell or something like that. Sword? Spell? We don't want to use double, we don't use spell because it's got 2 L's in there, so it'd be a waste. Mimic is good, but 2 M's as well. Let's do sword, Okay, we got O is in there. There is an O. O is just a good one to throw out there because I think it's interesting. Okay, there's an O and there's an E. Yeah, actually I think O is pretty good because it'll tell us where the O is. Okay, I think the second letter is O, and there's no A in there either. Sword is bad, arrow is bad. You're doing a lot of it's bad out there, but I'm not seeing a bunch of useful things. We're not gonna get it. Oh, okay, that's pretty big, actually. That's pretty big. No, okay, last chance, guys. I'm bad at this. I'm really bad at this. My mind is blank. There's too many words in the English language. So we might just have to give up and just take the L and find out what the word is. Voice? I don't think voice is D&D enough. Oh yeah, we never tried an I. Oh, there's a hint. Wise old Xanathar says, use thaumaturgy to make your something boom. Voice. You're right. You're freaking right. I just said it's not voice. That's not D&D enough. Okay, the hint kind of makes it too easy. But congratulations, guys. Congratulations, Hero, for tricking out voice earlier. And for me to be like, don't be stupid, Hero. Don't be a fool. And look who the fool is now. It's little old me. Is CR5. So, I mean, technically, yeah, it's CR5. And they're level 5. So I think if I do 2 slards, it's going to be way too much. What I might do is have them mess around with some more slard tadpoles. Because the tadpoles are just little guys. It looks goofy. Well, my slard doesn't. My slard does not look goofy. My slard is more like this with arms and legs, which saying that also looks goofy. But, you know, does CR correlate to the player's level? Well, Billy, in theory, it's supposed to, but obviously player parties come in different shapes and sizes. So I think on average, an average CR5 is good for an average 4-person party. But obviously I've got 5 people in my party, so that completely breaks that. Some people play with only 3 people. That completely breaks it. And then depending on what items your players have can break it as well. But yeah, it's supposed to roughly correlate. Yeah, I might do that, Leon. I might throw in a second half slot if they're getting through it fast. I don't think I will though. I think this will be I think this is a tight, well-timed session. So I'm going to continue to experiment with different prep styles on stream. I stream my prep every Friday, but I think at the end of this, I won't have found one way to prep that I always use. It's kind of what I wanted setting out with this, but I feel like I'm going to end up with many prep styles. Ways of prepping that I gel with, and depending on the session and my mood that day and my players, I'll just jump between those methods, or even start merging them. Do I think the 5-room dungeon is the way of life that some other DMs seem to think it is? No, I don't. I think it's really useful to kind of learn, and it won't be something you'll ever regret using. But purely as a prep tool, I think it's better used when you don't have that much time and you need to get something done. But yeah, my session in the end was fantastic, and I can't wait for the next one. Are we done? I think we're done.